The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
So hello and welcome to another episode of the Star Sport podcast. I'm your host Matthew Hurley. I'm joined today as always by Star Sport editor Ciaran McCarthy. The Star Sport podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, where your bank really does matter. Choose Credit Union, choose local, choose community. Now on today's show we will be discussing some GA action that happened last weekend and some going on this weekend as well as we enter the depths of winter. But first, I suppose, Ciaran, we have to touch on national news taking the headlines in recent days. And I suppose, I know this is a West Cork podcast, but we have to focus on this in many ways. Troy Parrott's moment last Sunday against Hungary, scoring a hat-trick, securing a playoff place for Ireland in the World Cup qualifiers in March. What a moment in many ways. Not just to score the hat-trick on Sunday against Hungary, but to score 2 goals against Portugal as well. 5 goals in the space of a few days. That is the stuff of dreams in many ways. And Irish football is back on the up again. And maybe a question as well. Can we start booking the tickets for the USA?
Can we book the tickets? I think we'll have to wait till see what the draw brings this Thursday, so we'll have an idea what the path to the World Cup looks like. But it's not beyond the realms of possibility now. But I think if you asked anyone before the Portugal game, would we be in this position? Even the most optimistic of Irish fans, I think, would have been pushed to say that Ireland would get 6 points from games against Portugal and Hungary and get through to the playoffs. But like you said, what an incredible story, Matthew. Like the stuff of dreams for Troy Parrott. I think he'd scored 5 goals in total for Ireland before the last 2 games. So he's now doubled his tally. So it's just like he said after the game against Portugal at Diviva that it was the best night of his life. A couple of days later, he had the best night of his life again, you know. So it's just Ryder Rover stuff. But it was just an incredible game on Sunday. And I think for Ireland to get that winner in the clock had ticked into the 96th minute, like the 5 minutes of injury time are up. So for Ireland to strike that late, it's just a really incredible moment for not just Irish soccer but Irish sport. And I think what it shows too is in the Irish football team has that really kind of that capability and potential to unite the nation like no other team has in one sense, you know, for all the brilliant success of the rugby team and so many other different sports, like which has been incredible to watch. There's just something really special about when the Irish football team achieved something like they did, and it's like we kind of wait for moments like this, and it was a moment worth waiting for, and the hope now is that we can capitalise on it. So I haven't got your holiday forms for next year yet, Matthew. I think you're waiting to see what the playoffs look like, but I think there could be a mass exodus from West Cork and beyond if the boys in green do get there next summer.
Exactly so, and it is fantastic that they did reach the playoffs, and as you said there, you wouldn't have expected it even after the Armenia win. Like a lot of people were actually asking the question more so, will we book the tickets to the USA, but is Heimer Halvorsen going to stay in the job for Ireland? And I suppose these 2 games have definitely emphasised that he is the right man for the job, I suppose, to get those wins against Hungary and Portugal, and add to the fact that the work he did with Iceland as well at Euro 2016 and getting them to the World Cup as well, the second smallest nation ever to reach the World Cup as well. So look, it was just a fantastic achievement that he did there as well, and he's definitely earned his place as Ireland football manager, of course, if he wants to.
Exactly, and I think almost the narrative before the last 2 games was Heimer's gone. You know, as soon as this World Cup qualification campaign is over, he's out the door, hasn't worked out, been really disappointing and so on. But then it just shows how fast it can turn. Like the game against Portugal with the Ronaldo getting sent off and Parrott's goals, and in the end it was a comfortable enough win against you could really sense there was jeopardy in the last 10 or 15 minutes of that game against Portugal, which is crazy to say. I think Portugal are ranked number 5 in the world, and look at the talent that they can call on. But that game almost, it would obviously set up what happened on Sunday, but it just injected belief into the country, and all of a sudden there was a lot more interest than there has been in the last couple of years in this Irish team. And for them to then deliver, I think it's just hugely important for Irish football, but also for this team as well, because I do think we were struggling to connect with them. We really were, in terms of that bond between the fans and the team. It's kind of, it wasn't as strong as it is now, but you were finding it hard to kind of connect to this team, and just like we have with previous teams over the years. But there's a definite connection there now, and there's been a bounce in everyone's steps. Like that Troy Parrott, his hat-trick goal, like that's just sensational. And you get moments like that every now and again, and that's what makes them so special, because they are so rare. But if you look at kind of some of the big Ireland soccer moments over the years, I don't think any has been as dramatic as that. Even though there's probably been more important goals in terms of, like, Houghton against England in Euro '88, Houghton against Italy in the Giant Stadium. We've had these hugely important goals at various times over the years, but in terms of just pure drama and tease, or Troy Parrott's goal, it's just going to take some beating. Kind of, you talk about Robbie Brady's goal in against Italy, the Euros, all those years ago. Like, that was an incredible goal and took Ireland through to the knockout stages, but it still wasn't as dramatic as what Troy Parrott achieved. And I think it's a moment that will stay with us for a long, long time. And I think what's very important too, Matthew, is for the younger generation of soccer fans in Ireland who've been starved of success, to have a moment like that, I think is really, really important. And it'd be fantastic now if Ireland can build in it. We'll see what the draw throws up, but at least we're talking about Irish football in a positive light, as opposed to what has been kind of the doom and gloom of the last couple of years.
Exactly. So, and that draw will happen on Thursday afternoon as well. So Ireland can only draw an away draw, obviously, against either Wales, Poland, Slovakia, or Czechia, or Czech Republic, wherever you prefer to call it. I suppose out of those 4 countries, Kieran, who would you rather get as an Ireland fan out of those for the draw? Obviously, these are semi-final, and then after that, if Ireland do get over the line, they will face a final against a pot 1 team, pot 4. So Italy, Turkey, or somebody like that could be down the line as well. So who would you fancy out of them for initially in the semi-final?
Oh, Jesus. I don't know. Looking at them, like, they're all tough, isn't there? Somebody said for playing Wales, wouldn't that be a nice one? It's a short journey for Ireland fans. The Polish could be tough. Czech Republic, Slovakia. It's like, but they all present their own challenges. But in a sense, Ireland shouldn't fear any of these teams, because they're all in the same position that we are. Like, these teams didn't qualify in top spot either. So, okay, it's not ideal to go away from home, but this Irish team has just gone away to Budapest and won in Hungary. So I don't think Ireland would fear any of these teams. I did see something earlier, Matthew, and you might correct me if I'm wrong here, but Ireland could possibly, if we win this game, we could possibly face Northern Ireland if they advance as well. You could have an All-Ireland showdown for a place at the World Cup, which would be incredibly spectacular. But we can't count our chickens yet. We just have to wait. We just have to wait and hope that the draw is kind to us, and hope that this incredible momentum can continue to build.
Exactly. So, and obviously Northern Ireland are in pot 4. So it's probably unlikely that they have to navigate their own semi-final as well. It's either against Ukraine, Denmark, Turkey, or Italy. So that's going to be tough. But then again, looking at Italy's last 2 qualifying campaigns, you never know. So we'll have to see with Ireland in the qualification draw. That's on Thursday, obviously, and those semi-finals and potentially final is in March. Back home, I suppose we have to talk about the All-Stars in camogie over the weekend, and Libby Coppinger of St. Colum's and Saoirse McCarthy of Courcey Rovers won All-Star awards at the weekend, along with their Cork teammates Ashling Thompson, Amy O'Connor and Laura Hayes. Libby won her 3rd All-Star in 4 seasons, and I suppose the outlier season, she was injured throughout the whole season with a hamstring injury in 2024. Saoirse, that's her 4th All-Star in a row. That's a fantastic achievement for her as well. So fantastic achievement for both the girls there, and indeed for the other 3 Cork players too.
Yeah, incredible kind of for this Cork team. Okay, they missed out in the 3 in a row, but it's still great to see kind of individual Cork players recognised in an All-Star team. Like, they'll still be hurting, from losing the All Ireland to Galway and such a close game as well. And because Cork were chasing a very rare three in a row at Ireland level, but they came up short. But for the players you mentioned there to win All Stars, I think it's a nice end to their season. Like you mentioned, Libby Coppinger from St. Colum's, that's 3 All Stars in 4 years, and she missed out last year because she'd picked up a serious hamstring injury. I think it was on May 2024, and she missed the All Ireland senior football and camogie campaign. So as Cork defended the Donohue Cup title last season, Libby had to watch on. So she came back this year, kind of proved her worth, and now as another All-Star to add to her collection. And it's brilliant for Carberry Camogie that there's an All-Star player within the division. And I know you're talking to her uncle Tony Coppinger, who's also her coach for this Thursday Southern Star, Matthew, and he was making the point that she's such a great role model, and that's exactly it. Young girls and boys across Carberry can just look at the example that Libby Coppinger is setting, and just see that a player from this neck of the woods can become one of the best in the business. The best fullback in the country for 3 out of the last 4 years. It's just incredible for Libby, and then Saoirse's just like 4 All-Stars in a row is just a testament to the quality, the drive, the resilience, the steel, the talent that Saoirse has. I think she's the most successful All-Star in the history of Courcey Rovers now. Also nominated for the Player of the Year for the last 3 years in a row. But just that award has eluded her so far, which is quite unfortunate. Can you think when you've been nominated 3 years in a row that that one of those 3 years that Saoirse would get the top award? But I think when that does come, and it will come, because Saoirse is such a class act, it'll be all the sweeter. But you can't look past the fact that Saoirse now was 4 All-Stars in 4 years. Like that's a phenomenal achievement, and a kind of a nod to her consistency. And I said Libby's one of the best in the business, but so is Saoirse. Like Saoirse is one of the best players in the country, and that's played up by the fact that she's been in that shortlist for the Player of the Year for the last 3 years. So they're both within. Like you've Saoirse from Ballinspittle, and you've Libby from Cahill. Kind of two big Southern Star regions. So it's just great to see some local women doing so well on the national stage.
Exactly so, and congratulations to Libby and to Saoirse for winning the All-Star Awards, and indeed to Ashling, to Amy, and to Laura, the other Cork players as well. There was 8 Galway representatives in the All-Star team, and 1 each for Tipperary and Waterford as well. You touched on Saoirse there missing out in the Player of the Year award. It has still eluded her, I suppose. For this season, she was nominated alongside Aoife Donohue of Galway and Dervla Higgins also of Galway, and Aoife Donohue got the award. Fair play to Aoife, obviously a brilliant performance in the final itself as Galway won the O'Duffy Cup. But did that have something to play into it, do you think, Kieran? Because I think up until the final, most people probably would have said Saoirse would have been Player of the Year. Then the final happens, Galway win the game, Aoife Donohue gets Player of the Match, then she gets the Player of the Year. Do you think that had something to do with the overall award being awarded to Aoife Donohue?
Maybe so, but you go back to the year before when it was Beth Carton from Waterford was crowned Player of the Year, and obviously Cork won the All Ireland that year too. So it really is an inexact science kind of when it comes to this. It can be so subjective, here in West Cork, that we do feel that Saoirse has been like the standout player, and would it be great to see her win that award? And obviously from Galway, they'll be backing their own players, and it's these awards kind of, whether it's the hurling or football All-Stars or the camogie All-Stars or the ladies football All-Stars, they're all so subjective, kind of we'll all kind of fight the case of our own. But it's just like I was saying earlier, Matthew was in, Saoirse has just been so uber consistent these last couple of years, and has emerged as such a leader in this Cork team. It's just been great to it's great to see her win these 4 All-Stars, but also her time will come.
So I suppose, yeah, it is unfortunate Saoirse did miss out on the Player of the Year award, but hopefully she will get back up on the horse and win her first Player of the Year crown in the next 2 seasons. Going back to home in terms of club now, and Ilen Rovers had a disappointing loss in last Sunday's County Intermediate A Football Championship final in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. On Sunday, they lost 119 to 214 after extra time against Ballonora, having been 214 to 19 points up going down the home stretch in extra time. But then Kevin Werner, a son of a former O'Donovan Ross player, Jurgen, got the winning goal for Ballonora, a fantastic goal as well. Ireland tried their best to get back into the game after that, but it just fell short for them. And I suppose we said it on the podcast previously here that Ireland had a brilliant season up until now. that was just a heartbreaking defeat to take over the weekend, especially in a replay and after extra time as well. It's just heartbreaking for the Baltimore club.
Oh yeah, it's just a matter of the defeat, and that makes it so tough to get over. Like go back to the drawing game. Kind of Ballora came up with a clutch 2-pointer late on there to earn a draw. Kind of I think everyone agreed that Ballora were the best team on the first day, but again, Ireland were so close to winning the county title that day, but they were just denied. Then you go to the replay last weekend, where Ireland 10 points to 2 down at one stage, but battled back, got earned extra time, went ahead, and then to be denied right at the death. It's gutting in one sense. It really is, and that feeling of disappointment will kind of linger for kind of it's the overriding emotion for the Ilen Rovers players right now. But you'd hope that over the next couple of weeks, when that disappointment subsides, that they'll just reflect on what's been a really, really positive campaign for Ilen Rovers, because the context is Ireland were in a downward spiral these last couple of years, but this was the season that Ireland kind of they steadied the ship, and they pointed around in the right direction, and they started winning championship games again, and they finished mid-table in the league, because on top of the much discussed 3 relegations in the different championships, there was also those back-to-back relegations in the county league as well. But this year Ireland has steadied the ship. They've got back that winning feeling. I think that they know now going into next year's championship that they are one of the best teams at intermediate A, so they'll be one of the top teams to beat next year, so they can take confidence from that. Okay, they got to go out and start again from the starting block like everyone else and prove that they're good enough, but they should take a lot of confidence from what they achieved this year. They weren't too far away, and it's for Ilen Rovers and these players to be optimistic going into the season, and almost to be straight away saying, Jesus, we know we're good enough to get to the knockout stages here. We know we're good enough to maybe get to a final again. I think that's a great starting block. Of course, it hurts now, but when that, like I said earlier, when that pain does subside, that they'll be optimistic for what the future holds.
Exactly. So, and look at the Intermediate A Football Championship next year. There's 4 West Cork teams, including Ireland in it. You have Adrigole in it as well, Gabriel Rangers, who were in it this season, and Bandon coming down as well, the footballers in Intermediate A. So it will be a championship to watch, no doubt, next season, but hopefully Ireland can recover well from this heartbreaking defeat. We spoke of Bandon's footballers there. Bandon hurlers, like Ireland, suffered a heartbreaking defeat in Páirc Uí Chaoimh in the Intermediate A Hurling Championship final. They lost 121 to 23 points against Ahabullogue. A last minute free from Matthew Bradley won the game for Ahabullogue, despite Bandon's great efforts, the likes of Mikey Callahan putting in another great display for them. It was 6 weeks without a game, Kieran, for this Bandon hurling team, for Joe Burke's side. They ultimately fell short right at the end as well. That's a gutting defeat as well to take on Sunday.
Oh yeah, and it's just they've had to Bandon, in fairness, they've had to wait so long. They could have been on the sidelines just waiting to get going for this game, and kind of for the Orange weather warning the first day out, and then Ahabullogue we're kind of pushing on in the football, so that caused a delay. And then even last Sunday, county final day, when the first game went to extra time, it was another half an hour delay for Bandon. They must be thinking, will we ever get to play this game? And it's just a credit to them that even though they haven't had a competitive game in 6 weeks, that they were so competitive against an Ahabullogue team that is riding the crest of a wave at the moment. Like, that's an incredible success story, that they've won another county double in football and hurling. But just, you have to credit Bandon for how competitive they were and how close they came. And it's much like I was saying about Ireland, it's going to hurt now, because when you're that close to achieving something that you've kind of your heart set on, and then to miss out, like, it just takes a bit of time just to almost to reason with it in your own head and just come to terms with it. But they'll realise, again, much like Ireland, that they were so competitive at this grade. And I think for Joe Burke, and obviously James Knight came on board as a coach this year, they realise that they have a very good team there, and the hope is that they'll regroup and go again next year. So kind of just commiserations to both Ireland and Bandon, but they've given their fans some incredible moments this season, and some incredible days out. And I think that's they've been a credit to both their clubs and their parishes as well.
It's been a great season for both clubs, and hopefully they can rebound back in 2026, but it is a disappointing defeat for Bandon in that hurling final. We still have more West Cork teams in action this weekend. Kilmacabea will get to play their county semi-final in junior A level this weekend against Charleville at 3 p.m. on Saturday in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. The game was supposed to take place last Saturday at the same time in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, but because of a waterlogged pitch, the game was postponed to the following weekend, as well as the other semi-final on the other side of the draw, Donohue against Nemo Rangers, third team. So for Kilmacabea, Kieran, Donohue O'Donovan has said over the last, not just the last few weeks, but over the last few years, this is a Kilmacabea team that is targeting a county championship. And this is a tough game against a Charleville side that have Premier Senior experience at hurling level anyway. The likes of Dar Fitzgibbon and Robert Carroll and all them hurlers would still play it for the footballers for Charleville as well. And I think there's an 8 player crossover between the footballers and the hurlers with Charleville. So it is going to be a difficult game for Kilmacabea, no doubt about it. But this is a huge chance to get to a county final, their first since 2018.
Yeah, like Kilmacabea, obviously the game was postponed last weekend, unplayable pitch, so they've had to wait for this. And I think this is a huge game for Kilmacabea. There, like you said, it's been a couple of years, 7 years since they got to the county final. Lost the county semi-final to Inniscarra last year, and it's a Kilmacabea team that has high hopes, or high targets, and I think that's a really admirable quality of Kilmacabea, that they're setting their targets so high, they want to get up to that Premier Junior grade. But this junior grade to win, it's so difficult. Like, we've talked about it before, as in for Kilmacabea to come through Carberry is a kind of a test and a challenge in itself, and they've managed that now 2 years in a row. But then to go from that straight into the county series it's difficult, because you have to win, just the way the structure is, you have to win 2 championships to kind of get your place up in the Premier Junior grade. Charleville will be tough. Charleville would be really tough for Kilmacabea, but you'd hope that they have the kind of footballers and the football and in them, but they also have that experience too, and I think that's quite important. Like, okay, some of the players, a good few players, weren't involved when they were last in the county final all those years ago, but a lot of the team would have been involved last year when they lost the county semi-final, so they know what that hurt and pain is like. And then what gives me kind of a bit of optimism about Kilmacabea, Matthew, is if you look at their last couple of games, different people have stood up in different games. Obviously, Damien Gore is kind of the standout name, the former Cork footballer. He's a match winner, their top scorer, and so on. Go back to the Carberry final against St. Mary's, Ian Jennings, their captain, kicked 9 points. He was man of the match that day. Go back to the county quarter-final against Carrick-Navarre. It was Daniel O'Donovan, who kind of the seasoned stalwart who stood up, and he was a big influence on that game. So Kilmacabea have really good players right throughout the team, and experience too. The likes of Donohue McCarthy as well. So they have experienced players. They have really good footballers. And you just hope that the stars will align for Donohue Donovan's team, and they can jump the Charleville hurdle on this weekend.
Hopefully so, and we will see how Kilmacabea get on this Saturday in that county semi-final. Another West Cork side in county action. This is a county final in the under-21 grade. That is Ibane Gaels against Douglas. This is an amalgamation of Barrio and Arcanine Rangers, obviously, and this is their last dance really at under-21 for Ibane Gaels here. They've had a fantastic season throughout the whole season. It's been kind of an emotional campaign for Ibane in many ways, obviously losing their manager Donald Holland, who passed away earlier this season, winning the Carberry Championship, then in the county semi-final beating Kinsale on penalties. It's been a brilliant season so far for Ibane, and hopefully they can go out on a high against a very good Douglas team, to be fair, who beat the likes of Ballincollig, Bishopstown, Nemo Rangers along the way. So it will be a tough game, but Ibane would want to go out on a high.
Yeah, I suppose the kind of the context for this match is that Ibane Gaels at under-21 level, they won't be competing as Ibane Gaels next year. The recommendations have come through from the independent monitoring teams committee. It's a bit of a mouthful, but their recommendation that has come through is they haven't agreed to the independent team application of Ibane Gaels at under-21 level. So that basically means that we won't have an Ibane Gaels under-21 football team next year, that the 2 clubs involved, Argyle Rangers and Barry Rowe, will have to field club teams. So, like you said, it is the last dance for Ibane Gaels at under-21 level, and you would hope, and it would be absolutely brilliant to see Ibane Gaels go out in the highest of highs, to go out as county champions. It's their first time getting to the county under-21A football final. Like you mentioned too, Matthew, they've had a really emotional season, and their manager Donald Holland sadly passed away during the summer. He was there on the line for their first game back in February. He was there in memory when they won the Carberry title against Bantry later in the summer, and now they've got into the the Cork series, and they beat Mallow, and then they beat Kinsale in an epic semi-final that went to sudden death in the penalty shootout. You just hope that they can get over the line. And we know about some of the players, the likes of Owen O'Donovan and Luke Murphy and Captain Tommaso Bucala, and they've done a Flynn of Cork minor. Like, this is a really good, talented Ibane team, and it would just be, like I said, knowing that it's their last game. Like, there's emotion attached to that, because these fellas have come up they come up through the grades together, so there's kind of, whether it's a county final or not, like, for these young fellas knowing that they're playing their last game together, it's kind of, that's an emotional aspect. So they'll want to go out in a high. But then you've kind of, in memory of Donald Holland too, and you've been talking to Owen O'Donovan for this Thursday Southern Star, and it's a great piece worth reading, and he talks about the kind of the impact of Donald as well. So you would hope, and I'm touching wood here, that the stars will align for Ibane this weekend, and they can go out on a high, because it just would be a fantastic story.
It would be an absolutely brilliant story if they do manage to get over the line against obviously Douglas, but we'll see if Ibane can do it this Sunday in the county final. That's on in Macroom at 2:30 this Sunday. We'll take a quick break now, and after the break we'll have more content on this week's podcast.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
So it is that time of the week again where we look at what's in this Thursday Southern Star Sports section. So what should our readers expect this week, Kieran?
Yeah, we're hurtling towards the mid to end November. Like, where is the time going? But there's just so much happening in West Cork sport, which is brilliant to see. So for the start this week, Libby Coppinger, you were talking to her uncle Tony Coppinger, who's also her coach at St. Colum's, just about the importance of Libby winning an All-Star and what it does for St. Colum's camogie, but even locally, the kind of the impact of having an All-Star quality player in the division. We've obviously match reports from the county finals that we touched on earlier. Just bad days at the office for Ilen Rovers and Bandon hurlers. Also, the Glengarry footballers bowed out at the County Junior B Football Championship, and we've a report on that. But on a happier note, Gabriel Rangers won the Carbery Junior C football final the weekend just gone, getting the better Carbery Rangers. So we have a full match report on that. And also, Matt, you were at the recent Cornyberry Derby between Clonakilty Community College and Skibbereen Community School. So we've reaction to that from both Clon and Skib camps as we head towards the final round of games there. Also, Ballinascarthy, as we talked about and touched on the podcast quite lately, they've had an incredible season in the camogie front, and we have a lovely interview with two of the stars of Ballinascarthy's county winning camogie team, that's Schieffer Patwell and Clara Crowley, just about the year that they've had. Also, Orhan footballers Orhan under 14 footballers had a really memorable time as well. They won an under 14 county title. But even looking further into the different sports, we have an interview with Laura Sexton from Timoleague. She's the young road bowler from the Sexton dynasty, you'd call it. Her older sister is Hannah Sexton, a double senior champion. So just Laura won the inaugural All-Ireland under-18 junior title this year. So that's an interview well worth checking out. Drina Rangers officially opened their new AstroTurf pitch, so we have a lovely picture spread from that. Fintan McCarthy was named the #1 men's rower in the world by the Row 2K magazine, which is a lovely accolade for Fintan. And he takes over from Paul Donovan at the top of the charts. And it's just incredible, Matthew, that in these kind of world rankings, that for the last 4 years, the top ranked men's rower in the world has been a Skibbereen man. Paul Donovan for 3 years, and now Fintan. So just a nod to the incredible success of Skibbereen rowing. And also, I'm going to mention the Christmas board because it's fast approaching, and John McCarthy is giving us his 10 sport book recommendations for 2025. So if you're trying to figure out what present you can get for the sports fan in your life and you're looking for a book, John McCarthy's 10 recommendations here, and there's some super books in it, so that's well worth checking out. And even if you want a sports book for yourself and you're struggling to think, okay, what book I get for myself, check this out, and you're bound to find a sports book there that will tickle your fancy. So as you can see, Matthew, there's a load in this Thursday Southern Star. And before I finish, I should have mentioned Kilbritton hurlers are through to the Munster Junior Hurling Championship. So I'll obviously report from that. And we have a couple of words with Philip Wall, who picked up a West Cork Sports Star Award on Tuesday night as well. So there's a hell of a lot happening.
Exactly. So, and what Kieran did mention as well was Christmas is hardly around the corner as well. And also in this week's Southern Star is our biggest ever Christmas in West Cork magazine, which is free inside this week's Southern Star as well. It's packed with puzzles and quizzes to keep you entertained. Challenge yourself with the West Cork quiz and a grown-up crossword. Get ready for the ultimate guide to shopping events, recipes, and celebrations across West Cork this festive holiday season. So get your copy in this Thursday Southern Star, along with the usual content that's there on a Thursday. And as usual, if you are further afield or can't make it to the shops, you can subscribe to the Southern Star e-paper and get the Southern Star on your laptop, tablet, or phone. Just go to www.southernstar.ie/subscribe, enter your details, and you get an exact replica of the newspaper for less than €2 per week. As always, thanks for listening to the Star Sport podcast, and thanks again to our sponsors at Access Credit Union. If you've enjoyed this, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be back again next week. Until then, take care.